33. 33. 33. I'm turning 33 this weekend. Hello and welcome back to the KJ Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your girl KJ, and yes, I am turning 33 this weekend. Especially in the past couple of years, I kept on waiting for a birthday to feel like a momentous occasion, to feel transformative enough, profound enough to feel significant. The last time I felt like that was during my 18th birthday, which I think goes for a lot of us girls because it is, in fact, a big occasion. There's a party, you invite people over, 18 candles, 18 roses, and all those other things that, in fact, makes that day special and transformative. And yes, it's a big deal because it's the birthday that really heralds you into adulthood, basically. But after that, there hasn't been anything of equal impact to me. But now that I'm turning 33, this one does feel very special. And that is because I felt like the years leading up to this specific birthday has caused me so much transformation to a point that I feel like I've been reborn and I have this new chance and perspective at life. And so I feel like this birthday really marks a new beginning for me. And since birthdays are essentially an it's okay you feel like a main character card, I decided that this episode for this week would be a Q&A episode where I opened up the doors for people to ask me questions. And so I have friends and followers leave me questions on social media and via a form that I created, and I will be answering those questions today. I am going to try my best to answer all of these questions to the best of my abilities, and I will also try to do justice to those who sent in their questions. In fact, without further ado, let's get right to it. We are going to start off with questions from the comment section of my Facebook post. And the first one here is from Janice, one of my kapatids from Behind the Mic Philippines. Shout out to Behind the Mic Philippines. Her question is, as an events host, saan po kayo bumibili ng damit? Well, right now, a lot of my hosting OOTDs comes from Shein, TikTok Shop, Shopee, because it's just so much easier to search there. And anyway, there are a lot of options as well. But moving forward, I also want to invest on more tailored pieces, but that's when the hosting gigs become more lucrative. I hope that answers your question. The next question is from Maine, my kumare, and one of my sisters from Makati High School. Her question is, what advice would you give to beginners who want to start having content or vlogging? My advice is definitely to just do it. Don't wait for having the best equipment or the perfect setup and all those things. Just start somewhere. Of course, it's not to say that you should not make your preparations, but starting with your preparations, maybe practicing and all those kinds of things, is already taking a step towards the direction that you want to go. So just do it. Start with maybe recording videos of yourself. You don't have to immediately post them, but get comfortable with the camera, and then once you feel like you're ready to go public with your videos, just do it. Even if no one would like it, even if you're the only one who would watch it, just keep posting for yourself, and then eventually you will just develop your skill. There's always something good about learning by doing. And then as you go along, the things would come, the equipment will come, the skills would come, the followers and the viewers would come. The main thing is that you do it for yourself. The next couple of questions is from Ate Maja, also one of my MHS sisters. Thank you, Ate, for always supporting. Let's start with her first question. She says, where do you see your channel or hosting journey going in the next year? And what excites you the most about it? For the KJ Lifestyle as a social media account on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and as a podcast also, I really do pray for more productive and significant connections. By that I mean I hope that I would have more brand collaborations or product placements. I pray for guests to come into the podcast also, and for me to reach people who I think need to hear what I can share. I don't expect to be famous doing what I do, but as I have always believed, if there is at least one person who finds something to connect with the content that I post, then everything I do is already worth it. As for hosting, Host KJ, I hope for more and more clients. Of course, as a freelance events host, the challenge is to have a regular income of clients. But so far, I'm thankful for all of the clients who have trusted me so far. So what I want is to have more exposure and to connect with more clients to gain more experience and hopefully also build a certain level of reputation so that I can be one of the trusted events hosts in the industry. Both of these endeavors I'm really inspired by and excited about because for the first time in my entire life, I feel like I'm really spreading my wings. I feel so challenged by the things that I'm doing, and it makes me feel so much more alive than I have ever been so far, that is. Ate Maja's second question is, what motivates you to keep creating content even on days when it feels challenging? I think one of the things that I learned, especially recently, is that I am doing this for me. What I mean by that is whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing it to please anyone. So at the end of the day, I'm not posting these things because people are expecting anything from me, but more on I am expecting things from me. I want to be a version of myself that I'm really proud of. So that is what really motivates me to keep on going every day. But at the end of the day, I'm just at a phase in my life where I want to make the most out of the life, the favor, and the opportunities that I am given. So now let's have the last question from the comments section on Facebook coming from Win, also one of the members of BTMPH. His question is, as an events host, ano yung struggle na pinaka nahirapan ka na bigyan ng solusyon? This is actually a great opportunity for a story time. Last December, I hosted a company event, a Christmas party actually, around Macapagal Boulevard. And this party actually coincided with the Parade of Stars, which, as we all know, also started in Macapagal Boulevard. So the traffic was definitely going to be crazy that day. So the day before the event, I sent a message to the GC with the client and the supplier saying that we should all account for the extra traffic that will happen on that day more than the usual Friday traffic. So initially, when my brother and I, because my brother assists me sometimes during events, when we arrived at the event's place, the lights and sound supplier were still not there. At first, I was not really worried about it because, again, I knew that there would be a traffic, but I didn't know that they would be extremely late. To make the long story short, in that event, I had to use a PA system microphone. It looks very similar to the one that they use in Senate hearings, where they have that one long microphone where you have buttons to push when you have to speak. Thankfully, it's Bluetooth, so I'm still able to walk around. The sound quality is not that good, but I'm still able to host. Another challenge though about that is that a PA system microphone, when you play music in the background and you speak to the mic, the music automatically dies down. And the thing is that the client also hired me to sing 3 songs. They paid for it already. So I talked to the contact person I was speaking to and told her that I will just refund that money because I don't think I will be able to properly do my job. But then she said, it's okay, you don't have to return it. In fact, we're okay if you would sing a cappella. But the thing about singing a cappella is that it will not be a festive intermission number and it's a Christmas party. So I had to think of a solution for that as well. So what my brother and I did was he played my instrumentals through my cell phone and placed it close to the microphone while I was singing to it. And through that, I was able to sing the one Korean song, You Are My Everything, from Descendants of the Sun, and the 2 Christmas songs that I was required to sing. So far, that has been the worst hosting experience I've had. But at the end of the day, the show must go on like all performers do. And thankfully, the event ended with the client even giving me an additional tip. And there were several guests and VIPs from the event who came up to me and thanked me for still handling the event well despite the technical difficulties. Now, let's move on to the questions from the Google form, and we will be starting with 3 questions from an anonymous sender. The first question is, what is the greatest life lesson you have learned in your 33 years of existence? This is such a Miss Universe question. Thank you for that wonderful question. This question actually reminds me of a quote that I encountered in my TikTok doom scrolling, which is this one. Let me just read it because I don't want to butcher the quote. It says, "Forgive yourself for not knowing earlier what only time could teach." As you know, I've gone through a particularly difficult time last year after my breakup, and a part of that is, of course, a lot of self-blaming. And that also goes with other things that I think I could have done better. But this quote actually encapsulates what life is supposed to be like. That there are really things that we would have to go through in order for us to reach where we are now. And that includes all of the possible mistakes or detours that we have taken. And we must forgive ourselves for not knowing better then, because at least, hopefully, we know better now. The next question from that first sender is, if you are to compare your past, your present, and your future with food or drinks, what would each be and why? This is actually a very interesting question. While I was summarizing all of these questions into one document, I really had to stop and think about my answers to this one. For the food that represents my past, I would have to say lugaw. By lugaw, I mean just the plain one with just the rice and the water and a little bit of salt and maybe ginger. And hear me out why that is. I actually told this to a friend just recently that sometimes when I try to recall my past, it plays like a black and white movie. Everything is just so dull and dim and lackluster as compared to everything I'm experiencing now. So there you go. My past is like Lugao. In connection to that, my present feels more like a kimchi jjigae. And by that I mean, the spice of the kimchi, the warmth of the soup, and then of course the richness of everything put in there, like the meat, the mushrooms, and all those. Because my life right now feels more Technicolor. I relate to Hilary Duff when she sang Now Everything's Technicolor, because life right now is just much more vibrant and exciting as compared to before. As for the future, I think it's like a box of chocolates because, as the quote says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what to expect. And lastly, from the questions of our first form responder, the question is, what is your deserve ko to, material or immaterial thing that you have gotten or want to get for yourself this year? For the material thing, I'm actually thinking of investing on a good tablet slash laptop that I can use, because the laptop I use now, it's still fully functional. I love it. I treasure it. It's very important to me. But the thing about it is that it's so heavy. And with my life being so dynamic right now, having to go in a lot of places all the time, I could really use a work device that is lighter. The thing is that right now, what does that work for me is my phone, but I also want to have a device that will be used just specifically for work, so that there would be a clear divide between my life and my work. As for immaterial, at the beginning of this year, I really said to myself that I wanted to have more opportunities for travel and exploring maybe the Philippines and the world. And so far, that prayer has been answered already because I have trips scheduled this April and May. But if Lord willing, I will have more opportunities and resources for further travel with friends maybe later this year. That would be such a welcome addition to my life as well. The next one to send in a question through our form is Julia, one of my students from PNU, and her question is, are you looking for a man right now? Why not? If yes, what are some unique qualities that you're looking for that you think others might feel questionable? Julia, no, I am not looking for a man because the man should be looking for me. But seriously speaking, I am really not looking for a man right now. I'm just enjoying this season of singleness after having been in a relationship for such a long time. I'm loving my life right now. There's such a freedom to it that I really, really want to treasure while it lasts. Definitely, moving forward, I know that I desire to be in a relationship and, of course, eventually build a home and a family with someone. But right now, I'm not in a rush for that. I'm not actively looking for anyone. But if there is a quality that I'm looking for in a man right now, in general, this is a very general quality. It's that this man has to be a good addition to my life. Do I think that's questionable? Maybe to some, but here's my thinking right now. I am very transparent in the sense that anyone who will get to know me knows who I am and what the trajectory of my life is. They know that I am currently training to become a church ministry leader. They know that I preach in church. They know that I am a content creator, that I have a podcast, that I play badminton once or twice a week, and all of these things. And if they know this about me and they decide to pursue me, it means that they have already decided that I would be a good addition to their life. And so now it's up to me to decide if they are a good addition to my life. That is not to say that I am unwilling to be flexible or to accommodate things that this other person wants to do. The thing is that I will not anymore compromise who I am and what I think my mission is just to accommodate a guy. That might be questionable to some people, but to me, it's my standard. Let's move on to another set of questions from one of my students, Alessandra. Her first question is not a question, actually. She just said, Happy birthday, 선생님. 감사합니다, Alessandra 씨. Her second question is, if someone looked at your life from the outside, what would surprise them most? My understanding of this question is if I let them in to my story and have a more intimate look at how my life goes, what would surprise them the most? And I think that they would be surprised at the amount of scars and wounds that I had to deal with on my own without anyone else knowing. That's the thing about me, especially before. I really don't want to burden other people with things that I feel like I should go through by myself. Outwardly, it would seem like everything is okay. I'm taking everything in stride. I'm enjoying life. I'm happy. I'm productive and all of those things. But deep inside, I'm actually sometimes already breaking apart and trying my best to keep it together. So maybe that's one thing that will surprise people the most. But at the end of the day, I don't think that that's exclusive to me. I think there are a lot of people who go through life like that. But what I'm learning now actually is that I don't really have to go through that alone. There are things right now that I am more open to other people with, and that has made my life so much easier. So it's really true. No man is supposed to be an island. Alessandra's last question is, what's a failure from your early days that shaped who you are today? I can't really think of any major failure that has shaped who I am right now, but I do recall remarks from certain people telling me, gawin mo na lahat except itong bagay na to, because I did something and I did not do it well, for example. For a lot of people, their response to that might have been to give up. But whenever there are people who would tell me that they think I can't do something, it becomes a motivation for me to do better at that. For example, when I was young, there were people who would tell me how bad my penmanship is. So I taught myself eventually calligraphy. I'm not the best at calligraphy, but I improved significantly, so much so that there are people who would ask me to write greeting cards for them in calligraphy or even just simple notes. And I get compliments for it. Another example is that when I was younger, people would also tell me that I didn't have a good singing voice. That is compared to my other siblings. So what I did was I practiced my voice quietly. I would sing by myself in the restroom or in the bedroom where no one else would hear me. So I was able to develop my falsetto voice. I'm able to hit my notes. I'm not a powerful belter, but I can hit the correct notes. So that's more than enough for me. And right now, even I get paid sometimes to sing. So there you go. So if anyone is telling you that you cannot do something, don't believe them. Instead, believe in yourself that if you put your mind into something, you are able to do it. We have a set of 3 questions from Cotton, who I think is also one of my students from PNU. Her first question is, what are your top 5 clothing brands? I'm not a very brandy person. The brands of clothes and shoes and bags, they don't really matter that much to me. As long as I feel like they're sturdy and functional, it's fine. And that's the fruit of how our parents brought us up. But if I were to name brands from those that I have, because to be honest, I really don't invest in brands even right now. Maybe in the future if I have, more money. But again, right now, maybe Uniqlo, Bench, at the top of my head, Shein, Easywear, Lovito, and I don't know, bestseller dress from TikTok or Shopee, those 5. Because those are the ones that I am using often recently. Cotton's next entry is, hello, I'm one of your students from Korean class. I want to ask, what was your most remarkable response from a recitation? Hopefully, it's me. Right now, I really cannot think of any response to a recitation that is remarkable. If what you mean by that is that it was profound or amazing. But what I can think of right now is actually a recitation from a student I had when I was still a practice teacher. When you're a practice teacher, sometimes the cooperating teacher will sit at the back to observe you how you conduct a class, even before your final demonstration. And in one lesson, I was discussing a story, and we got to the part where we are already drawing out the theme of the story. So I asked the students, what did you learn from this story? Majority of the students were very active, and because at this point I think that there could be no wrong answers, I tried to call this one student who don't usually recite. But he's one of those rowdy boys, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to shine. In fairness to him, he did stand without hesitations and tried to recite. He began to say his answer, and suddenly he stopped and said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but I am mind." For a fraction of a second, I was caught off guard and I could have burst out laughing, but I had to hold it in and put on my teacher mask and say, "Did you mean mental blocked?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, that's it. I'm mental blocked." And the entire class erupted in laughter. And thankfully, my cooperating teacher did not hear the specific word that the student mentioned. Otherwise, he could have gotten into a lot of trouble. I didn't put him in trouble because I know it's just from not knowing the exact vocabulary that he wanted to use. But that's the one that is remarkable to me. If I recall anything profound and maybe amazing, I will get back to you. Her last entry to the form is, I still remember you saying in our first day, we should love the words we don't like. Yet, I still fall behind in memorizing phrases. Any tips po? For the context of everyone who is not in my class, I usually say that to my Korean language students, that if there's a word that they find particularly difficult or challenging, I told them to tell themselves that this is their favorite word. It's kind of like tricking your brain into accepting the information better. That worked for me when I was still studying the language, because whenever I encountered a particularly difficult sound or a challenging word to spell, I would just tell my brain, this is our favorite letter, our favorite sound, our favorite word. And suddenly, whenever I encountered that word or sound, my brain just accepts it better. And I think that's because I lowered my own affective filter to these words or language bits, and that's a tip that I give to my students. Although I know that learning is different for everyone, I still give them tips that help me in case that it would help them also. There's no one learning trick for everyone because everyone learns differently. There are visual learners, kinesthetic learners, auditory learners, and all those things. But my advice is really just exposure. The more you encounter the language, the more you see it, the more you read it, the more you hear it, the more opportunities you have for absorbing the language as a part of your memory. Until it gets to a point where it becomes more natural for you to use certain words, expressions in your day-to-day vocabulary. The thing about the Korean language though is we don't really have people to use the language with conversationally and naturally every single day. So as a foreign language learner, we all should find ways to expose ourselves in a different way. Next, let's have a set of questions from our fifth responder to the form. And the first question here is, if you could eat only one food for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? And that leads us back to kimchi jjigae. When I went to Korea in 2018, kimchi jjigae was one of my favorites. And when I got back here to the Philippines, whenever I would have an opportunity to have it in the restaurant or even at home, it is always such a happy time. It's just that the kimchi stew is a full meal because it has soup, it has meat, it has fiber from the kimchi and the mushrooms. It's very filling, and because of the spice and the heat of the soup itself, it's just comforting. And even if that's the only thing I would eat every day, I feel like I'm able to survive. It's good for your gut, it's good for your skin, it's good for nutrition. So if you haven't tried kimchi jjigae, there are many recipes online and I suggest you try it too. Next question is, what destination is at the top of your travel dreams and why does it inspire or excite you? My answer to this has always been the same since I was young. Maybe since I was in late elementary or high school, I've always wanted to go to Paris. Well, initially it's because I want to see the Eiffel Tower, but it's become more embedded in my travel dreams, especially when Emily in Paris aired on Netflix, because I got to see more of what I would be able to see or experience in Paris. And I'm not talking about the love interests, no, I'm talking more about the sceneries, the river cruise, the fashion, and the food, those kinds of things. So Paris remains to be a dream destination for me. The last question from this form entry is, if your viewers could decide your next episode or adventure, what do you think they'd choose? To be honest, I can't assume for my followers and friends what they want to see for my next posts. But if I would guess, it's probably what I will be doing in my trip to UK and Germany this April, or my family trip to Hong Kong in May. I will try to document as much as I can. It's just that I will definitely be extremely busy, but if you are interested to see what's going to happen there, please do let me know. We have two questions from the next form entry, and the first one is, what is your motivation to study and learn Korean language? Which makes me think that this is another one of my Korean language students. My initial and still current motivation for studying the Korean language is to watch Korean dramas without subtitles. I've gotten to a point where I think I've already mastered the vocabulary and grammar points from the first few books of the reference material that I studied when I started learning from 2018 to 2020. But I still have a lot of learning to do to add to vocabulary so I could reach a conversational level and a vocabulary repertoire so that I'm able to watch Korean dramas without subtitles. That's the dream. But to be honest, so far I'm not able to do that. There are moments when I try not to look at the subtitles and listen to the conversation of the characters. I can catch some words and understand context in general, but some things can get lost in translation if you don't know other major words. So that is my motivation. Right now, I actually want to further my studies in the Korean language, although it's not at the top of my priorities at this time. The next question here for that form entry is career or love life. Please just choose one. To be honest, I will choose love life because that part is out of my hands. It's not something that I can control. Career for me, I think, is easier to come by. Love life is not as much. So if I were to choose just one, if it will magically appear to me, I will choose love life. The next set of question is from another one of my Korean language students from the library science major. Her first question is, what is your ultimate pet peeve in a person? I think that my ultimate pet peeve is when a person does not care about others. What I mean by this is that they are too self-centered that they don't care if they inconvenience others. It can come in small things, such as, let's say you're in a public place and you're playing a video so loud that other people can hear it even if they don't want to. Or another thing is when a person comes to an event, they are extremely late, but they are so unapologetic about the time of others that they wasted. Or when a person suddenly just causes drama out of nowhere at a time or a situation where other people are already having a difficult time. And that's a pet peeve to me because I'm someone who really don't like being a burden to other people. I don't like conflict. I always want things to flow as smoothly as possible. I know that it cannot be helped sometimes, but if a person could do something not to add to that, I really appreciate it. But if someone adds more to the tension, to the difficulty of things, it really does irk me from a little to a lot of bits. This student's second question is, how do you manage your time po? What do you do when you're feeling unmotivated? Over time, I realized that it's not really much about managing your time, but setting your priorities. What I do usually is before I sleep at night, I list down everything I think needs to get done the next day. When I was younger, that to-do list has to be completely accomplished by the end of the day. But as I grew up, especially recently, I realized that that to-do list is just a guide for the things that I need to do, but it doesn't mean that I have to do them all. So what I will do is I will take a look at that list during my day and identify which one is the most urgent. I will do that first. And I will slowly tick off things in that to-do list. And if there is something that I was not able to get done, I will just simply transfer that to the to-do list next day. And maybe by then, it will be the top priority compared to the others. And eventually, things will get done. On days when I'm feeling unmotivated, I do give myself some time to just sit down, take a rest, and then eventually look at my list, review it, and then just choose one to accomplish. And as soon as I do that, usually it starts a sort of a momentum. So again, you don't have to finish all 10. If you have 10 things there, if you're only able to finish 2, that doesn't make you any less of a person as long as you're able to do something. The last entry of this person is not a question but happy birthday po. Thank you for being a good Sonsingnim to us. Thank you so much for the birthday greetings, and thank you also for letting me know that I've been good to you. I endeavor to be. I hope you are learning from the class, and if you do need any more help, do let me know and I will try my best to help as much as I can. Our next set of questions comes from Ate Joanne, one of my beloved sisters from Makati High School. Her first question is, how did you face that new chapter of your life after giving up your public school teaching life? For those of you who don't know yet, a few years back, I did resign from my post as a public high school English and Korean language teacher. It was definitely not an easy decision, but it was something that I had planned for a long time before I finally resigned. It means that I transitioned out of it, so I gave myself enough time to slowly distance myself from things that are happening in the school. It's not that I'm not doing my job anymore, but emotionally, physically, and intellectually or mentally, I slowly detached myself from the job. So I started to delegate more and more of the things that I used to do all by myself and spread it out to other people so that by the time I leave, they will be independent to do it. I also started saying no to seminars and trainings that I wouldn't be able to use because I'm already resigning, and passed it on to someone who I think would have more use for those trainings. So by the time that I did resign, I feel like I'm emotionally ready to leave the post, and I also have something waiting for me to do afterwards. So I fully immersed myself to the new endeavor, and I really enjoyed the free time that I was able to have because I started to pursue things that make use more of my creative energy. So I was able to make space for things that bring me joy. So that's why I think I was able to get through it after giving up my post. Ate John's next question is, when can you tell that you had moved on after a super low part of your life? I think that the greatest indication of moving on is that you are able to thank God for what you went through. I'm not trying to be toxically positive here, but based on personal experience, that's how I was able to tell myself that, wow, I really am healing and moving on from some things. It's not that I don't remember what happened anymore or I don't feel the pain of what I went through. It's just that with perspective and with learning things from what you have gone through, you start to realize the benefits of it or how it contributes to this specific version of yourself that is the version you need for your purpose or for moving to the next phase. I think another indication is also when you see yourself opening yourself up to new experiences. By that I mean that you notice that you have space again for joy, for love, and for hope. And if that happens, I think that it's a good symptom of healing and It's a beautiful experience to have, to realize that, hey, I am finally moving on. The last question of Ate Joanne is, how much do you miss your MHS sisters? Because I'm pretty sure they miss you big time. Super! I miss you so much. I really do hope we can set up a date very soon. I'm not sure we can meet this March because you guys are usually not available beyond 5 p.m. So it's very challenging to collect you guys. But I do hope we can set something up in May when I get back from the UK, or before the school year starts next year. So let us set up. I really do miss you, and I hope to see you guys soon. We are down to our last 3 questions from our last responder to the form. So let's get on with the first question from that entry. The question is, what is one thing you regret the most and why? Honestly speaking, I sometimes think that I regret not having had the strength and the courage to walk away from my last relationship sooner. But with time, there are also moments that I think that things happened the way they had to happen. The amount of time I had to stay in that relationship, the things that I had to go through, they had to happen exactly like that for the information, for the lesson, and for the transformation to be complete. So while there are some moments that I do regret that, majority of the time I don't. So if I will think about something that I really, really regret until now, it's that in 2022, I attended a conference in Korea. Before the conference, they were sending emails about certain events in the conference, and one of the emails had a title of K-pop audition something. And the thing is that during that time, I was really busy in school. I had a lot of things to do. And so I thought that this email is not relevant to me. So I didn't even bother reading the body of that email. And then when we got to Korea, turns out it was an open call for the participants in the conference to send in videos of them singing Korean songs so they can participate in a singing contest as a part of the closing program of the conference. It was just a fun contest for everyone to enjoy that closing party, and there were celebrity judges, and the winner will win a two-way ticket to Korea. And to be honest, until now, I can't believe I did not read that email because at the time I already have a lot of stored videos in my Google Drive of me singing some Korean songs. So until now, I sometimes look at that moment and think, I could have won that, you know? I could have had a chance, but I didn't just because I didn't open the email. Now, moving on to the next question. This is our second to the last question. If there's one kind of wound you would want to take away from your parents, what would it be? Wow, this is such a deep question. If there was a wound that I could take away from my parents, I think it's the wound of them growing up without their fathers. Both of my parents lost their fathers at a young age for different reasons and in different ages as well. That's because I grew up with excellent and very present parents. So if they have wounds about losing parents in such a young age, I would take that away from them, if only so they can experience what they have made me experience growing up. And our last question, which is also kind of the perfect question to end this Q&A session with, it's this. What are you most proud of about yourself? The one thing I am most proud of about myself is that I am privileged to know God. Even in the Bible, there are many verses that talk about how there are many people who hear and know of God, but they don't really know God, because it is God who chooses who gets to come to Him and who gets to know Him on a deeper level. And lately, in my morning devotions, I've been saying, "Thank you, Lord, for giving me the extraordinary opportunity of getting to know you." And that is through my daily encounter of God's words in my morning devotions, and also through my personal experiences of God's grace and mercy and favor. And while I cannot fully grasp who God is, I cannot fully understand the depths of His love, I get to have a glimpse of that, and that is such a privilege that I have, that I really am incredibly proud of. And I think it is through that that I am able to survive every day, and that makes life worth living. And that's it for my birthday Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to leave questions for this episode. I really appreciate it. A lot of them really got me thinking and reflecting about my life. A lot of them also kind of brought me close to tears, but thankfully I was able to hold them in. I really quite enjoyed that, and I think I would love to have another Q&A episode in the future. So if you do have questions for me, I am leaving you this link to a Google form where you can drop in your questions. I cannot promise exactly when I will be able to answer them, but just drop them there, and I'm going to make sure that I will get back to them in the near future. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to the birthday episode of the KJ Lifestyle Podcast. I know this might sound too OA, but thank you for being a part of the 33 years of my existence. You might be a silent viewer or listener or follower, or you might be one of those who always are actively commenting and liking, sharing my content. But regardless of your participation, thank you so much. You are huge blessings to me, and I hope that God blesses you all the same. I am looking forward to the next episode because for the first time ever, we are going to have a guest here on the KJ Lifestyle Podcast, all in celebration of the International Women's Month. Who my guest will be, you will have to find out in the next episode of the KJ Lifestyle Podcast. This has been your girl, KJ. See you guys again next time.